Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to share with you our focus on Mega Goal 3.1, Writing. We'll be exploring Unit 5, titled, Do You Really Need It? In this session, we'll discuss how to evaluate our needs versus wants when it comes to writing and communication. So, let's get started and see what we can learn together. Now, on this slide, we're focusing on how to structure a letter to your local newspaper. Specifically, we'll look at the thesis statements and supporting statements. These are the key ideas that will guide your letter and make your point clear. First, you want to identify the main message you want to communicate about handwriting. This involves finding the specific information you want to share or discuss. Then, you'll read through the text carefully to gather details and supporting facts. Writing your letter involves clearly expressing your ideas, making sure your thesis is strong and supported by relevant points. And finally, talking about your letter means practicing how to present your ideas confidently and convincingly. Remember, the goal is to connect your points logically and make a compelling case about handwriting. This process helps you communicate effectively and engage your readers. Let's take a closer look at scanning and skimming. These are essential reading strategies that help us quickly identify key information in a text. Now, shifting to handwriting, it involves the actual process of forming letters with a writing implement. This might seem straightforward, but there's more to it. Cursive writing, for example, requires formal training because it involves specific muscle movements and coordination. In the early stages of literacy, children need to learn how to manipulate a writing implement properly. This isn't just about holding a pencil. It's about developing their eye-hand coordination, which is crucial for both writing and overall motor skills. By understanding these foundational skills, we see how they connect to a child's ability to read efficiently and write effectively later on. Developing good handwriting and reading strategies early on sets the stage for successful learning across all subjects. Let's talk about scanning and skimming. These are two quick reading strategies that many people prefer, especially when working with word processing documents. Scanning is all about searching for specific information, like a name, a date, or a particular fact, without reading every word. Skimming, on the other hand, involves glancing through the text to get the main idea or overall gist without diving into the details. Both techniques are incredibly useful for saving time and quickly assessing content. And because many of us are used to working digitally, these methods align well with how we process information on screens or in documents. Understanding when and how to use scanning or skimming can really enhance your efficiency and help you focus on what truly matters in your reading. Now, let's talk about how specialists can analyze handwriting to uncover various insights about a person. By examining handwriting, experts can determine character traits, which can tell us a lot about someone's personality. They can also identify gender, emotional states, and even authenticate documents to verify their legitimacy. This process involves looking closely at the unique features of handwriting, much like a fingerprint. It's a fascinating intersection of psychology and forensics that highlights just how much information is embedded in how we write. This kind of analysis is a powerful tool in both understanding individuals and ensuring document security, fitting into the broader theme of how handwriting reveals hidden information. Let's talk about scanning and skimming. These are popular reading strategies because they are quick and efficient. They allow you to get the main idea of a text without reading every word in detail. This is especially useful when you're trying to find specific information fast. Another advantage is that they make editing much easier. When you're reviewing or revising a document, you can make changes, add new parts, or correct errors without rewriting the entire thing. It saves a lot of time and effort. And don't forget, when you're working on a computer, spell check tools can help you automatically catch and correct spelling mistakes. This helps ensure your writing is clear and professional. Overall, scanning and skimming are essential skills for managing large amounts of information efficiently, which ties into our broader theme of effective reading and editing techniques. All right, let's talk about scanning and skimming. These are two important reading strategies, especially when you're taking tests. There are two main types of tests we encounter: computer-based tests and pen and paper tests. In computer-based tests, you typically don't need to write by hand within a set time limit. Instead, you read the questions and select your answers on the screen. This can sometimes make the process faster and more efficient for some people. On the other hand, pen and paper tests usually require you to write your answers by hand within a certain time frame. This can feel different because it involves more physical activity, but it also allows you to mark up the test paper directly. Understanding these differences is key because it influences how you approach each type of test. For example, scanning and skimming might be used differently depending on whether you're quickly searching for answers on a screen or on paper. So, in essence, knowing which type of test you're facing helps you adapt your reading strategies accordingly, ensuring you can work efficiently and confidently through each section. So, while I definitely support technological advances that help us do things more efficiently, I believe it's equally important to preserve the skill of writing by hand. There's a certain independence and self-sufficiency that comes from being able to write without relying on a device. It's about maintaining a personal connection to the act of writing, which can be a valuable skill in itself. Now, when we talk about scanning and skimming, these are essential reading techniques in today's fast-paced world. Scanning involves quickly looking through text to find specific information, while skimming is about getting a general idea of the content without reading every word. Both skills are crucial because they help us manage information overload and save time. They connect to the broader theme of balancing technological efficiency with the preservation of fundamental skills, like writing, so we stay adaptable and self-reliant in an increasingly digital world. Let's take a look at some supporting statements that build on our main ideas. First, we have the concept of subsequent information, which refers to how new data or insights follow from what we've already discussed. This is important because it helps us understand the flow of information and how each point connects logically. Next, we come to the thesis statement, the core argument or main point we're trying to communicate. It's the foundation that guides the rest of our presentation. By clearly articulating this thesis, we set the direction and purpose for our audience. Overall, these supporting statements are crucial because they reinforce our key messages and ensure our ideas are cohesive. They tie everything together and make our presentation more compelling and understandable. Now, let's move on to the next part of our discussion, supporting statements. This slide focuses on how subsequent information builds upon our initial thesis statement. Essentially, after presenting our main idea, we want to look at how additional details and evidence support and strengthen that core message. It's important to see this as a logical progression. Each piece of information adds clarity and depth, helping our audience understand the full picture. The thesis statement acts as the foundation, and the supporting statements serve as the building blocks that reinforce and elaborate on that foundation. Connecting these points clearly ties back to our overall theme, ensuring that our message remains consistent and compelling throughout the presentation. Remember, the goal is to keep your audience engaged by showing how each piece of information aligns with and supports your main argument. Now, let's move on to the next part of our discussion, supporting statements. Here, we'll look at how subsequent information builds on what we've already established. This is crucial because it helps us see the logical flow of ideas and how each piece connects to the bigger picture. Next, we have the thesis statement. This is the core idea or main argument of our presentation. It acts as a guiding beacon, helping us stay focused and ensuring that all supporting points tie back to this central theme. By understanding these elements, supporting statements, subsequent information, and the thesis, we can better grasp how to structure a clear, compelling argument. It's about creating a cohesive narrative that not only informs but also resonates with our audience. Remember, the goal is to make our message as impactful and memorable as possible. Now, let's look at what comes next, the supporting statements and subsequent information. These are essential because they help us build a clear, logical flow in our argument. Supporting statements provide the evidence and details that reinforce our main points, making our case stronger and more convincing. When we mention subsequent information, we're indicating that there's more to explore or that new insights will follow, guiding our audience through the narrative smoothly. At the heart of this slide is our thesis statement. It acts as the foundation of our entire discussion. It's what ties everything together and clarifies our main message. By emphasizing this, we ensure our audience understands the core idea we're presenting. Connecting these points to the overall theme is crucial. It shows how each piece fits into the bigger picture, reinforcing the coherence of our presentation. So, as we go forward, keep in mind that these supporting statements and subsequent details are what make our argument credible and compelling, all anchored by a clear thesis. Now, let's take a look at some supporting statements that build on the main ideas. First, we have subsequent information, which refers to the additional details or data that follow our initial points. These are essential because they help us deepen our understanding and provide context. Next, there's the thesis statement, the core idea or argument that ties everything together. It's the main message we want to leave with our audience. By thoroughly explaining these key points in a conversational way, we make the content more relatable and easier to grasp. I want to highlight that the most important concepts here are how the subsequent information supports our thesis and how these details connect back to the overall theme of the presentation. Remember, this slide is about showing how supporting statements reinforce our main message, making our overall argument stronger and more convincing. This approach helps ensure our audience stays engaged and follows the logical flow of our presentation. Now, let's move on to the next part of our discussion, supporting statements. These are the pieces of information that back up our main points and give our arguments more weight. They serve as the evidence or reasoning that reinforce what we're saying. Next, we have subsequent information. This refers to the follow-up details or additional context that help deepen understanding. It's important because it keeps the conversation flowing smoothly and ensures our audience stays engaged with the topic. Then, there's the thesis statement. Think of this as the core idea or main argument of our presentation. It's the foundation that ties everything together and guides the flow of our discussion. By thoroughly exploring these elements, supporting statements, subsequent information, and the thesis statement, we create a coherent narrative that connects all parts of our presentation. This helps us communicate our message clearly and convincingly, aligning with the overall theme we've been developing. All right, let's take a closer look at the supporting statements. First, I want to emphasize the importance of subsequent information. This refers to how new data or insights build upon what we've already discussed, creating a logical flow that guides us through the topic. It's crucial because it helps reinforce our understanding and ensures that each point connects seamlessly to the next. Next, we come to the thesis statement. Think of this as the backbone of our presentation. It's the core idea or main message we're trying to convey. Everything we discuss should tie back to this central point, keeping our narrative clear and focused. By thoroughly explaining these key points, I hope to make the connections more tangible and relatable. Remember, the goal is to keep the conversation engaging while ensuring we grasp how each element supports our overall theme. This approach helps us see the bigger picture and appreciate how each part contributes to our understanding. Let's talk about some common misconceptions. First off, these issues have nothing to do with the true goals of education. When practices or policies stray from the core purpose of learning and growth, they can distort the way we view the school environment. Instead of being a place for development, it can become something else entirely. Next, these distortions can also make the school look different from what it truly is. It's like putting on glasses that make everything seem skewed or out of focus, which can mislead students and parents alike. Another critical point is the waste of students' time. When activities or policies are ineffective or irrelevant, students end up spending valuable time that could be better used for meaningful learning or personal development. And finally, these issues can significantly impact a student's decision-making. If students feel that the system isn't aligned with their goals or is wasting their time, they might lose motivation or even reconsider their future educational paths. All of these points connect back to our overall theme: the importance of aligning educational practices with their true purpose to foster genuine growth and success. Now, let's talk about how to effectively write a letter to share your opinion and feelings on a controversial topic. First, it's important to follow these steps carefully. Start by clearly stating your position, what you believe and why you feel that way. Remember, your letter should be a reflection of your genuine thoughts and emotions. Next, support your views with specific reasons or examples. This helps to make your argument more convincing and relatable. Additionally, stay respectful and considerate, even if you strongly disagree with others. The tone of your letter can influence how your message is received, so keep it professional yet personal. Connecting your points back to the overall theme of your presentation reminds your audience why this method is powerful for communication. By following these steps, you can craft a compelling letter that effectively expresses your opinion on a sensitive or controversial issue. All right, let's take a look at the homework for today. Please turn to workbook page 276. On this page, you'll find exercise L. This exercise is designed to reinforce what we've covered in today's lesson. I want you to focus on understanding the key concepts and applying them practically. Remember, the goal is to connect what you've learned to real-world situations, so take your time and think critically about each question. Doing this thoroughly will help you solidify your understanding and prepare you for future topics. So, when you're ready, go ahead and complete exercise L, and don't hesitate to revisit the material if you need a refresher.